With some of the spiciest takes on draft that I've seen in the Worlds meta in a while, JDG and G2 had quite the scrap when it came to a decider game in their group. Some teams are fully embracing the overall style of draft that this meta is giving them, while others are having none of it, utilizing all their drafting resources to allow their team to play best to their style. I love seeing these differences in teams, and I believe that this game is a great opportunity to explore just what is possible in draft when we see these styles clash. As always, if you enjoyed this analysis, would love a sub for more content like this. Let's hop into draft. Starting with the bans this game, we see JDG on blue side, and they take this chance to ban out Senna, Sejuani, and Maokai. G2, on the other hand, opt to remove Kai'Sa, Aatrox, and Azir from play. Looking at JDG's bans reminds me of the overall ban style that a lot of teams are going for, because it seems that the LPL teams absolutely hate playing around Maokai and Sej because it severely hits the pace of the game. LPL teams typically love the ability to play chaotic fights on their terms, and even if you manage to trade these two champions across your teams in draft, it still shapes the draft into a certain direction, and clearly JDG just don't want any of that. The Senna ban is also super interesting because it seems that G2 are not afraid to explore with different bot lane styles as well, and it could result in JDG just not feeling comfortable with playing the matchups that Senna has. This specifically opens up for the Yuumi B1 that JDG actually swing for as well. In terms of power picks, Caitlyn's also open here, but this Yuumi is almost certainly getting paired with Sivir in this case, and because of the way that matchup generally goes down, G2 is actually not that incentivized to pick up the Caitlyn for their composition. G2 definitely opted into this though, because like I said, this does force JDG to play a little slow, and it seems like they're okay volunteering themselves into a power pick like the Yuumi to facilitate this. As their opener, they swing for the Sylas in the R1 as well as the Seraphine, which I think is an interesting take. Since it was picked with Sylas simultaneously, clearly we're not going to see any Flux shenanigans, so right out the gate, G2 are opting for a very interesting change of pace for their take on the Sivir-Yuumi matchup. For those unfamiliar, Seraphine bot is very typically focused on heavy wave clear, neutralizing lane, and just scaling up for free. She's got the great team fighting that she's always been known for, but also carries a lot of range that allows her to bend the rules a bit when it comes to playing around other carries and whatnot. I am pretty confident that G2 had this as their prepared strategy and wanted JDG to actually swing for the Yuumi opener. In the B2B3, JDG take the other half of the Sivir-Yuumi combo, as well as take Renekton surprisingly. The potential rationale for this is that I see that JDG needs some lane to play through, and Renekton can pretty much secure this into almost every matchup. For the R3, Jankos takes the Graves for himself. I think it's pretty good considering with both Sejuani and Maokai banned, it's one of the best junglers remaining in the slot, and G2 really need an AD DPS in their comp right now as well. Out of the first set of picks, overall, both comps are looking for simple front to backs, but there's a bit of room to play with on both sides here. The main differences come in the flexibility of styles that both teams can use, and the differences in roles that can facilitate these pivots. On the side of JDG, I don't really think they have much to hide anymore, because the main picks they need to fill out their comp are mid and jungle, and champions in those roles right now are some of the least flexible overall. We do see that Sylas is revealed, but unless we see something incredibly innovative come from JDG, they are more than likely going to swing for some sort of control mage like Victor. Something like LeBlanc is also available and could work here, as it has a good matchup too. JDG are also going to be looking for a facilitated champion in jungle, so we can really kind of deduce what their comp is going to look like, and it's going to be super standard. On the other hand, G2 need to round out picks in both top and support, which I'd say leaves them with more options right now in the draft, and puts them in the position to gain a strong advantage. They could swing for both forwards or backwards with their top lane pick, with options like Gnar or Ornn being available. Kennen, Fiora, GP are some other options as well. In support, they could pick a whole slew of options in both engage or to enable that top side. Pyke would be great for this situation, or they can pick things like Alistar, or even flex Seraphine back to support and pick champions like Ashe and Misfortune in this case. JDG opted to dip a little bit into both of these pools, and they ban out Gnar and Pyke. On the other hand, G2 actually ban out Akali and Bel'Veth. The one that I'm actually surprised by actually is the Bel'Veth ban from G2, which is not what I was expecting. There might be some insider scrim information relating to this, but Bel'Veth is the only champion that's really relevant right now that could really force this alternative playstyle. In the R4, G2 swing for an aggressive option in the bottom lane and take Alistar, pretty much the only engaged support that can still consistently reach Sivir with no problems. For the B4, B5, JDG round out with Viego and Talia. This rounds out their top side pretty nicely, honestly, as it gives them very strong combos in their solo lanes and gives a lot of agency on JDG to do a lot of mix-ups in the early game. But in an absolutely spicy way to attempt to curb these attempts from JDG, G2 slam the Darius R5 into Renekton. They're pretty much matching fire with fire here, as this actually makes for a winning matchup for Darius for G2 to play around. Their other champs work well with this too, even because Alistar can even play for topside here pretty easily, so they've actually managed to shift their comp identity around quite a bit, and I think it's really quite interesting. This means the draft is essentially mirrored on both sides conceptually, and all eyes are of course going to be on that top matchup, because whoever comes out on top here will have an incredible amount of power to essentially carry the rest of the game. On the one hand, G2's got good matchups all around, and they've got the tools they need to really bring the game home by themselves. But I'd argue that JDG also have a comp that can really answer this, and they've actually managed to shape the draft into the playstyle that suits them. I still think this is super creative drafting by both sides, and by G2 especially, to claw back and generate advantages wherever possible. Overall, because of these factors though, I rate the draft 55-45 in favor of G2. As always though, hopefully this analysis was insightful to you guys, and I'll catch you in the next one. Stay fresh.
Don't you think like that? I will love you endlessly.